Hello, citizens of the planet. Welcome back to Monday Musings with Larry Lelli. And this week's musing is kind of two parts. The first is a story about a gig that I did recently, and the second is kind of my musing about that in a broader sense. So, first of all, here's the story. I played this gala concert this past week for one of the Broadway theater companies here in town. It was a fundraiser for the company, and so it was accompanying a whole host of Broadway stars. And I was in the house band. And it was just a small four-piece rhythm section: piano, guitar, bass, and drums. But it wasn't necessarily a typical concert, the way a concert might be arranged with, you know, very specific sheet music and such. We did a lot of stuff kind of on the fly at the last minute. And one of the pieces we actually didn't even rehearse. Someone along the way, right before we were about to start the show, said, "Oh, I want to just do an overture of something, just so we can get the people's attention and so that they're aware that the show is about to begin." So the music director had to just basically yell out to us all a standard song, assuming that we would all know it, which we did, and said, "We're just going to play, you know, the last 8 bars of this song. Okay, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, and he counted it off and we played it. And without any rehearsal or anything. And my point is about this all is we wouldn't have been able to do that had the four of us not collectively played millions of thousands of gigs outside of Broadway musicals. We wouldn't have known what to do. And this is something that I'm encountering more and more often. Our young students graduate from university or college or conservatory around the country or world and move to New York having no other experience other than what they have played at, like, in the musical theater program at the school they attended. And they have no real-world experience of playing a gig or playing any styles or knowing song catalogs or anything. And one of these students would not be very much, or one of these, you know, newly arriving young musicians wanting to be a Broadway musician wouldn't have anything to offer, really, the theater community, because they don't bring with them any real-world experience of music outside the theater, which is so important. And people, I don't know if the schools aren't teaching that anymore, or if the students are just getting so focused on, you know, one thing and one thing only, and studying only that, and having an awareness and a knowledge of only that one thing because that's their sole focus. It's really they're really shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak, because they would have been hired for if they would have gotten hired for this gig somehow, and that situation happened, they probably wouldn't have known a song because they had never had to play a gig where they just played standards from the American songbook, you know, or they wouldn't know, like, sometimes the music director said, "Okay, here's the form of the song, just so we're going to talk it down. We're doing A, B, A, then the bridge, then 2 A's at the end, tag it 3 times, and a bassy ending." They probably wouldn't know what that is, but that is musical language speak that we often have to deal with, especially on gigs like that where we're creating something in the moment, on the fly. So, my whole point is, if you're a young up-and-coming student or aspiring Broadway performer, to play as many gigs as you possibly can in every single style and genre of music. You need to have a knowledge of everything in order to be a successful freelancing Broadway musician. And you need to bring that knowledge with you so that you can bring that into the pit and that you can play the score properly and with the proper style and all that kind of stuff, so that you bring real world knowledge and experience with you. Okay? So I hope this has been a helpful public service announcement, so to speak, for all you up-and-coming aspiring Broadway performers. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.